Your highs, your lows, your loves, your losses. This is Your Soul Care Companion podcast, hosted by Marcus and Marion. Your Soul Care Companion podcast, the place where faith, passion, and determination create the greatest stories ever told.
Good day and welcome to Your Soul Care Companion podcast. My name is Marion.
And I am Marcus.
And we are Your Soul Care Companions.
Yes, we are.
Today we have a beautiful, lovely young lady with us today. Her name is Nadia Perry. Say hi, Nadia.
Hello.
Nadia and I went to college with each other, and on any given day or random day of the week in Charleston, on the College of Charleston campus, you know, if I saw Nadia or Nadia saw me, it would be this, "What going on?
Boy, what going on, man? What happened?"
And then you would respond with, "Are you holding them in the room?"
Holding them.
Wait, what?
It's like, what's going on here?
Right. In other words, hey, how you doing? I'm okay. I'm
Right.
doing the best that I can.
Doing the best I can, yeah.
But, you know, that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, don't tell our age.
Since we were in college, but ever since then, I have seen Nadia blossom into a beautiful, I don't even want to call it young lady, just a beautiful creature of light. Mm-hmm. And after a conversation we had on the way back from a funeral, mm-hmm. I decided, well, I knew then that Nadia would be someone who I wanted to feature as a guest on the Soul Care Companion podcast. So, Nadia, I'll just let you talk, and we can go from there.
Well, I know you said you brought me here to hear about my story. You know, that story is layered, and I don't know which part of the story you want to hear about, but I guess I can start with...
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
Let me help you.
Come on.
Okay, so that conversation was more about you not, like, taking on titles and all these different identities. Tell us about that conversation. Who are you?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for asking that, as a matter of fact. But I would say I am light, and I am a reflection of source energy. Whatever we want to call that infinite intelligence, we want to call it God, we want to call it source, we want to call it infinite presence, you know, whatever you want to call that magnanimous presence. I am a reflection of that, as are we all. And I'm here to do my light work. I'm here to show up fully present as myself and as a reflection of every one of you, and to be my best self, and to always be present with what I'm becoming, you know, because everything I'm becoming helps me to draw other people into their own moments of becoming and their own moments of healing. And whatever it is that I'm doing, whether I'm writing or whether I'm singing or I'm acting or I'm dancing or whichever one of my gifts I am called to employ at that time, you know, I'm just showing up as light so that I do help to draw other people into their own moments of healing, if they're laughing or if they're just listening or whatever it is. So I would say that's who I am. Yeah.
If I recall correctly, somebody asked you, were you vegan? Were you heterosexual? Were you lesbian? How did you respond to that on that? Because I think it was on social media or something.
Yeah, I talked about that a bit, and you know, I'm none of those things. I'm all of those things, and then I'm nothing at the same time, and that's how I respond to that. You know, I am sometimes showing up as a person who eats this particular way, and then there are times where I choose to eat another way. There are times where I am very, very attracted to this particular gender, and then I may not be attracted to that gender. And I want I want to be respected for the expansiveness of who I am, you know, and not for the limitations that I put on me, not for, you know, what people have perceived or whatever that thing is, whatever that category is. So I'm everything, and then I'm nothing, you know, at the same time.
So I'm guessing you didn't get to this point yesterday. Take us back to the campus of College of Charleston. Who were you then?
Oh, man. At the College of Charleston, I was this bubbly being, I was very much so myself, though, and very comfortable in my skin. I was loud. I was boisterous. I was comedic. I sang all the time.
All the time.
I was always saying something outlandish that would cause people to laugh, or I don't know, it might even upset you, because I'm a truth teller and I always have been. So I would say whatever I was thinking, unfiltered, unbridled. And at the same time, I was always a love being, and maybe the ways in which I demonstrated that where people weren't always so fond of, because once again, like I said, I was a truth teller. So, but that's who I was. Very committed to my studies, but at the same time, I was spread out doing a whole lot of things. Very, very community minded and concerned about helping other people to become their best self. And a lot of that, is at the core, is still who I am. Yeah.
So how did you deal with that? Because, okay, let's say this. You were a church girl.
Yeah, to my heart.
Yeah, church girl. And how did that come into play? Because we both know that oftentimes when you fully express and explore all of who you are, it's not always quote unquote okay in the church world. How did you manage, deal with, cope with that?
I stopped being more committed to what other people thought about me than I was to what I thought about myself and my path. I realized that when you're born into a set of beliefs, a set of thoughts, a culture, a way of doing things. And no one asks you which way you want to take, or does that resonate with you, or is that true for you? No, you're not asked that. It is imposed on you. And you're expected to comply with whatever is handed to you. And so I took that path. And you know what? At the core of my being is a perfectionist, is a person that once I commit to something, I commit to it full out, wholeheartedly. I'm not going to halfway do anything. So I committed to my faith, to the Christian faith. And, I went as far as to be ordained as a minister. I went to seminary. I traveled and did missions work, from one country to the next. I was 100% all in. And then, as I continued to evolve, there were some things that didn't resonate with me because they weren't true for me, because they restricted me. These rules, these tenets, they required me not to be true to myself. For example, if I wanted to be in a same-sex loving relationship, according to, the Christian way of doing things, that is frowned upon. It's not supported. It is damnable. It is an abomination. It is something that you're hellbound for. And I could not understand for the life of me how I could have the depth of love that I have for another being, and because their gender was the same as mine, then the loving God, this loving presence, was not going to accept me. I couldn't come to terms with that. And so, I had to wrestle with that internally. And I had to be willing to separate from anything that would cause me not to live my truth, And it wasn't easy to say, let's kind of detach from everything that we know is true and unlearn and relearn. And it's still been a journey, but a worthwhile journey, because now I can show up fully present in the world as myself and not as thoughts, beliefs that have been handed to me as truth.
You said thoughts, belief that has been handed to you as truth. Unwrap that.
Yes, because just because someone tells you that this is the way it is, it doesn't mean you have to accept that and walk that out and live that out as yours personally. And that's not, it's not mine, because it doesn't align with who I am. And that's the only way something can be true for you, is if it aligns with who you are. Not if it aligns with your mom, well, that's her truth. Or if it aligns with your pastor, well, that's true for him. But doing your internal work means searching self to find out, whether I can stand in this and I can honestly say I agree, if everything in me stands up and says yes to that. And if it doesn't say yes to that, then it's not true. It's not true.
Okay, I'm in love with you. Because you call it internal work, I call it soul work.
Yes.
You know, how did you start that journey of self-discovery?
You know, I started to surround myself with people who were already on their path, you know, and I've always been very like gregarious and diverse in, you know, who I allow myself to be around. You know, I like to keep expanding my container. So my sister, my biological sister, she was one of those persons who was instrumental, because my sister took a separate path, and I think first she just kind of started out studying numerology and chasing angel numbers, as we call it. And she would bring my attention to things, to awarenesses like, sis, the 1111, you know, and I'd be like, okay, girl. Yeah, that's cute. I don't know what you're talking about, but and then she would, you know, she would talk to me about, you know, like my chakras and all of that, and I was like, that's some real like hippie stuff. And
what is the soul chakra?
Right. So I heard her, but I wasn't listening to her because I was still very heavily entrenched in what was handed to me as truth, what I thought was truth. And it wasn't until I had this moment, I can almost identify the exact time. It was 2012. I was sitting in my kitchen. I was home alone. And on the way back, I was on the way back from South Carolina, and all of this vision had come to me to like start this women's organization and so on and so forth. So anywho, I got home and I was writing down all this vision, and then all of these numbers just start swirling in my brain. And I was like, wait a minute, this is overload. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to write it down. I started writing down these numbers and these like repeating number sequences. And I started to just research them. And then I became re-familiarized with the angel numbers that my sister had previously introduced to me. And there were all of these messages that were showing up for me. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. And from there became this continual exploration of things that I had not previously known about, and I became that much more like curious about the unknown, about what wasn't being told to me,
right?
About what I know that people know, but it was being hidden for some reason, you know. And I was like on a quest to just know more about what I didn't know about before, and what I wanted to know more about, and that's how it began. The more I opened myself up to be available for more awareness came.
You have no idea how much you are speaking our language without us even telling you the language.
You're listening to Your Soul Care Companion podcast with Marcus and Marion. Your Soul Care Companion podcast will soon be celebrating 1 year of podcasting. As we grow, we're looking for partners like you to grow with us. Join our community and sponsor episodes. Go to YourSoulCareCommunity.com and click on podcast for details.
There are a few things I want you to unpack. First, we are what we attract. You know, you were determined to expand everything about you, and that's what you attracted. Now I really want you to unpack, because this is something we haven't shared it on the podcast, but we shared it at the Soul Care Experience. If you missed it, you missed a treat. But we talked about the difference between a journey and a quest. Unpack that for us.
Well, a journey has a destination. You know, you set out, you know, let's just say you pack a bag, you pack up a tent, you pack up a sleeping bag, you're intent on getting to a specific place. And often you are intending to get there within a specific time frame. You know, which also is a limitation.
Correct.
You know, but a quest, it's an ever evolving, ongoing process of growth and expansion and just evolution. It's always going to be happening, and there's always an ask. there's an asking. On a journey,